we had some very good news across the board in terms of, we don't know exactly in terms of the numbers. We'll get more data as we go in the coming days and weeks in terms of like turnout and how it applies in a broad sense. But broadly speaking, people seemed very energized by one issue in particular. And so much so that even Sean Hannity realizes it.
And this is what happens when you go for 50 years, an unelected group of Supreme Court justices take this vitally important issue out of voters' hands and make the, rule by fiat in Washington. And then when we, thankfully get it returned to the states and returned to voters, it's a difficult issue. And we're working through it. This is the third election. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be awkward. And everybody's kind of got to try to find their voice on it. Democrats demagogue the issue to very effectively.
They're trying to scare, Democrats are trying to scare women into thinking Republicans don't want abortion legal under any circumstances. And I go back to Pennsylvania 2022, the Republican candidate for governor, if I remember correctly, no exceptions for rape, incest, or the mother's life, and lost to a non-incumbent gubernatorial candidate, Democratic candidate, by a margin.
Pause it for 1 second. I just want to see if I just understand what Sean Hannity is saying. Democrats want people to believe that Republicans don't want to allow abortions in any circumstance, and then he immediately pivots to talk about a Republican candidate who did not want to allow abortions in any circumstance. I mean, it is the case that Republicans don't want abortions to exist in any circumstance. In fact, we talked about yesterday how the speaker of the Republican Speaker of the House voted against birth control. And so it goes further than that. Now, it's true that in certain circumstances, they try and finesse this to see if there's some magic formula where they can take away an individual right from half of the population, roughly, and in fact, and arguably everyone, right? I mean, because couples often make this decision together, but they finesse it so that they can take away parts of that right. And now they're whining because their position is completely unpopular with the American people. And, I love how it was 50 years of fiat, and then it was, it's no longer fiat. That you can overturn a 50-year precedent. I mean, if you want to talk about something that is the definition of fiat, it is a judiciary that has no respect for settled precedent. But continue.
And I go back to Pennsylvania 2022, the Republican candidate for governor, if I remember correctly, no exceptions for rape, incest, or the mother's life, and lost to a non-incumbent gubernatorial candidate, Democratic candidate, by a margin that was not seen since the 1940s. So I have to believe that is an indication that the women in America, suburban moms, want it probably legal and rare and probably earlier than, at the point of viability.
Well, I mean, I think just about everybody believes that it should be slightly earlier than the point of viability. I mean, I think that's in fact what the standing law was.
I think the doctors are on that.
But the Republicans are recognizing they have a problem to a certain extent. They also have a problem with their insistence that normal people have a problem with the existence of trans people. We will get into that more. The millions of dollars that Republicans seem hell-bent on trying to prove that the American public is afraid or has an issue with, or whatever it is, with trans people. We'll also say that on a, a local level, in terms of school boards and this and that, people tend to not want things like history to be banned, books to be banned, pride flags to be banned. So Moms of Liberty also big losers yesterday. We'll go through all of this. The only bad news from my perspective, there may be other races that, but in terms of like anything that I would headline that I find really a bummer is the Pine Tree Power Initiative in Maine failed. They were outspent. This was, again, to have the state of Maine operate its own power delivery. And they were outspent. I don't even know if you can calculate, like double digits to one by these power companies. It really is something that we need in this country. There is no reason for us to have these middlemen in, particularly, the rationalization is there. It is when we regulate these companies so heavily and they have no competition, there couldn't be a better indication of something that this is what the state or the country should be doing.
And have done before.
And have done, of course. Anywhere where there's a monopoly or has been for an extended period of time, I know that like in some places are opening up with fiber versus cable. It is a good indication that like this is something that obviously you don't need competition for. I'm not sure in which areas you need competition, but this is clearly, we don't even need to do a hypothetical, but that's the only dark spot on things, as it were.